I would record just in case. Okay. Now, has anybody started thinking about what they're going to say for 10, 12-ish minutes?
Yes, I have a PowerPoint outline.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
I started a rough draft of a PowerPoint too, but I need to cut it down and clean it up. It's kind of a stream of consciousness right now.
Okay. So, Amy, how are you going to approach this?
In a robotic HR way, just like I
You're
did.
gonna
No,
you're
just
gonna come give everybody a hug when they walk in the room of the session. Virtual hug, everybody.
yeah. Oh, that's a good
Kiss,
idea.
kiss, kiss. We're in France.
I don't know. I don't think I thought that far. I just like sort of made these slides with, kind of an outline of thoughts.
Mhm. Okay.
But do you want something like fun at the beginning of the section
Well,
like that? I
I
think
think
that's
we need
funny.
to figure out what kind of like we can all do different activities, right? That shows that we do different kind of engagements, or we can all do something kind of similar, like we have a kind of set plan. Totally up to us.
So can I maybe make a brainstorming suggestion and then we
Go
go
for
from
it.
there? Because this physical touch one for me is like one of the more challenging ones. We know there's five love languages, but this one, as it relates to money, to me, is kind of like, well, we know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate with our clients. And so, what does this mean for them? And so, Andy, you tell me if this is going down the wrong path, but how I thought about this one was, and this may be like kind of outside the box, but in what, if we know that our client's love language is physical touch, in what ways can I help support that and acknowledge that? And so that may be something like for budgeting purposes, having physical money in their hand and suggesting that, or like like cash envelopes or prepaid cards or physical financial tracking tools like journals or whiteboards, like things that are physical and tactile in nature. What do you guys think about that being a component of this?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Would the
So I
money be
miss
more like gifts or no? Like I like the idea of the whiteboards.
Would the money be for what? Sorry.
Like gifts rather than
Oh, it could really be for anything. Like for my clients, I always, you could use an example of like, I encourage my clients who struggle with eating out too much to pull money out at the beginning of the month and then, basically use the cash envelope system. And when they run out, they run out. And so they can either know that they're going to go over budget or try to stay within budget. But it's really like you could, Amy, like maybe expand on the tactile experience of like touching the money and how that ties into somebody who has a physical touch love language, how that might speak to like their heart. They might actually relate to that in a very different way than another person with a different love language. So it
Sure.
doesn't
I
really, I
like
guess,
that.
matter what it's for.
I like that. Excuse me.
And then also like the thought of, I guess I don't know what this would look like. I found this online and I can't remember what my stream of thought was, but recommending tangible investment options alongside digital ones. So this person may have more of a struggle with the intangible, um, like seeing numbers on a computer doesn't really mean anything to them, similar to like feeling the cash actually in their wallet, knowing that it's there. But if there's some sort of like tangible investment option that we could help them get in touch with, that may be something too.
So kind of bringing physical into the counseling client relationship.
Like a very literal interpretation for this one. Yeah.
That too, and you could mention what they talk about in the book, like years ago, a firm handshake was what people were taught to do. Now there's
Mhm.
fist bumps, right? Like there's other ways. I see Amy typing. It's so funny. I love to watch you type while we talk. I have a hair that's like in the wrong place. Do you ever have that happen? Hi, Brent. I have a hair in the wrong place. So can we, let's talk about what would we do with what would be an engaging activity? When you think of physical touch in a client counselor relationship, what comes to mind? You know, is it the handshake? Is it, I don't know.
Is
Or
this an
something-
engaging activity to perform with our client? Is that what you're thinking here, Andy?
No, it's our audience for the presentation.
So, but is our audience leveraging this information to work with their clients, like expand their, so like would
That's
an
why,
engaging
because it's train the trainer day.
yeah. So would an engaging activity example be like um for somebody who maybe is like a hedonistic type of personality who just like spends, right? But their love language is physical touch. And an activity for them could be like uh like pulling out a $100 bill and holding that in their pocket and knowing that they have it there, but working on discipline to not spend it, maybe.
Katie, you could, I think, but is the question though, what's the activity, the engagement activity for the other
Audience.
audience? But I do like that, what you were saying, but what could we ask the audience? I mean, you could ask how many of you, physical touch is important to you.
You could tell them a couple stories and ask them which one they would feel more comfortable with, or most of their clients would feel more comfortable with. You know, somebody came to my office and had to sit in a really hard chair, and I didn't even offer them, whatever. And somebody else came to my office and I have a nice comfy couch, and I did a fist bump because that's what they prefer, because I learned from my clients what they prefer, whatever. I don't know. It's like,
Okay, so maybe tell a story,
yeah.
like
And
short.
and I think about the whole how people feel appreciated. How would our client feel appreciated when it comes to physical touch? Like a congratulations handshake, right? Like, or a pat on the back, or like some of the things that they talked about. How do they feel like they were proud of them, or something like that? It's kind of, I figure we start with the hard,
Hugger.
let's start with the hard one first.
Mhm.
My book just closed. Now I got to remember.
I'm
mean,
all
one of the-
about like high fives.
High fives.
Yeah.
I would not want that.
No.
Like I'm a hugger,
I bet
but
you
I
guys
think
high five people though. I
What?
high five my grandkids. They're happy with a high five.
yeah, I probably don't hang out with a lot of kids. But I think, and one of the
Guy
things
thing.
that
It's a guy thing, Amy.
oh, I'm not a guy's girl. I'm a girl's girl. No guy wants to hang out with me. Um, but one of the things that talked about is like if you are a physical touch, like saying I'm a hugger, like is that okay with you? I do
Right.
get though you have to be sensitive because somebody might feel uncomfortable saying no. So you're gonna have to read some body language or
And you have to just let people know that, hey, I'm okay if that. Okay, so have you ever seen the thing about school kids when they come to school and their teacher has like 5 things for them to choose from? We
Yeah.
have that in our school. One of the teachers does that, and I watch them do it. And so one kid will come up and they'll point to the one they want and they'll get a high five, and they'll point to the one they want and they'll get a hug, and they'll point to the one they want and they'll say, congratulations, me, So it's really, or, welcome, something like that. Um, that's something we could do with clients, right? We could kind of do like a little inventory. What do you prefer? Right? Like if you do a great job, you know, what would you be comfortable with? Would you be comfortable? You know, do you like a high five? Do you like a handshake? Do you like a, something more hands off? I'm just thinking out loud.
And I think too, we should be speaking to both virtual and in-person clients, right? Because I know I don't have a single in-person client, and I'm assuming that that's normal.
It's going to be pretty normal, I think, going forward too.
So, like, I don't know how impersonal it is to be like, give yourself a pat on the back, like from touching themselves or but like trying to think of ideas. I'm actually typing it into AI right now to see what it comes up with.
think Katie too, you talked about like, the envelope system. In front of you on the screen, your client could, get a stack of envelopes,
Yeah.
and physically put the money in there in front of you. So you know, not like you have to babysit it, but like you said, if they're more tactile or have them hold a
Is our
stack of bills.
or kinesthetic personality.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe like as a congratulations, we mail them something too, right? Like they get something physical, like a little certificate. Congratulations, you paid off a debt. Every time they pay off a debt, you send them something, a sticker that says, I'm a debt destroyer.
That's cute.
Well, I do like that certificate when, even though it's digital, when we finish book study. I was like, one time I'm like, Andy, are you sending those? Like, I
Yeah,
needed
sometimes
it.
I wait for everybody to finish the exam.
I was last day. Sorry, guys.
I was eager beaver because I was trying to get all my
I
hours
still
in.
have
So
8 people left. So
Wait,
Oh.
from the second book study?
from this one that just finished,
Oh, I didn't do that one yet. You told
that's
me
you're
maybe
one of the
12.
8. You're one of the 8, Colleen. It's not the last day yet, though. What did I give you till the 12th? Is that what I put?
Yeah, I'll do it this weekend.
Yeah, because the CFP board requires that we do it within 2 weeks of them finishing.
Okay.
So. Okay, so
simulate touch virtually.
what'd you
Oh,
find,
yeah,
Katie?
yeah. The like reactions.
Yeah, reactions.
I like the sensory ritual one. It's kind of, I don't know. Some of those are a little strange, but like the physical marking of a chart or like physical movement of cash into savings.
Um, I've had people role play stuff before. You get Monopoly money out and
Mm-hmm.
this is how
Mm-hmm.
much money you have. This is how much the rent is. This is how much the whatever is. This is how much, and put them in piles so they can see.
I think for your, engaging the audience activity, you could ask like, how's this presentation going so far? Everyone, do a reaction. Like that's a way to simulate touch virtually.
The big thumbs up.
Because
All
a
right,
lot of them have like a
did that
clapping.
help you with ideas or no?
Yeah. I have
Okay.
a lot of ideas.
All right, let's go to Katie. I'll just go backwards.
Okay. So is the question mainly about activity?
Yeah, tell me, like, you feel pretty good about your timing. Do you have any questions about how you're going to approach it? Thinking about
I
this
don't
is the audience and how they're going to work with clients. Now, there are a lot of people that could be working in person because, like, our whole military community have to work in person,
Mhm.
right? So a lot of people follow me that are in the military. So world, you will have people who meet face to face with people, just so you know,
That's
Amy.
good to know.
Yeah, for the touch.
Yeah. And I think for this one, the acts of service, like knowing that if we did have a client, this is somebody who this is somebody who appreciates any actions that make their lives easier, right? Maybe allowing them to have more time for the things that they love. And so to me, and I'm open to ideas here, but to me, this is things like, um, um, helping them divide, like if it's a couple, helping them divide financial responsibilities based on their strengths, or maybe you like teaching them how to use a financial app and or automate payments to just make money management easier, things like that. But I get the sense that this is a lot of like people whose this is their number one love language prefer to like do things together. That's part of the value in this. What do
And
you
that
guys think about
quality,
that?
it's like it's overlapping with Corinne.
Could do Andy's favorite money date.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a money date. So I
Yeah.
think acts of service when you're working with a client, think about it in this aspect. Like if I'm working with a client, what's something I can do for them that they would feel appreciated by me as the financial professional?
Katie does this all the time, and then I actually had to do it for my client. So she said what they don't want to review their spending, she'll review for them. And I was like, no way. And then sure enough, that's what I did a lot of one Saturday, looked at areas where my client was spending money and then asked a bunch of questions, right? Like,
And
so
I think
my friend that runs the financial counseling program over here at the military base that I went to yesterday, she was showing me her client's statement that he was supposed to have an appointment, but I came over, she postponed it. Like, you didn't have to do that. I'm like, I can hang out. Um, but so she was showing me all the documents that he brought, and then she was showing me his paper. And so she took all his documents and she put it in the form for him. And I could see that being an acts of service
yeah,
kind of thing,
totally.
right? Like he physically brought all the stuff to her one appointment, and then they talked about his goals and stuff like that. And then he was coming back to see what it looked like.
Yeah, and to add
Any
another, oh, sorry, just to
No,
add
go ahead.
another example here, I had one client who's reviewing long-term care insurance policies, and those are not intuitive whatsoever. And I said, I send it my way. I'll read it for you and I'll send you a summary. And if you have any questions, we can talk through it. And he was like, oh my gosh, this just made my entire week
That's a
better.
great example. And
Yeah.
I guess that makes me think about helping somebody decide which healthcare plan to take. Do I take this high deductible plan or this one? And so me figuring out, okay, you're having a baby this year. So this is what it would look like this way. This is what it would look like this way. And basically they came out either way. One, you're paying it every month. The other, you're paying it when you have the baby, you know? But it was almost exactly identical. So it made it really easy
yes.
to go, oh, I think I'd rather pay monthly.
Or like a job comparison, like comparing all
Yeah.
elements, right? Salary and moving expenses and all of
Or
that. You
which
could do that
college
for
should I
them.
go to?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, those are great examples. I think those could be some really great examples of how we help them make decisions without them making the decision. Like we're not doing it for them, but we're
yeah.
helping them feel like we've really done something for them. Right.
Yeah, the
I love
job comparison, like looking at two offers.
that. Yeah, those are good. Thank you.
Can you think of any activities that we can do with our audience there? And it can be before, the activity can be anytime, right? We could start it off with acts of service, or with whatever topic we're talking about. The activity, the engagement, I could put engagement, but could be multiple choice, something, you could go, which one of these
So
is
I did find the quiz and it's 30 questions. And if there's 5 of us presenting, like maybe throughout our portion of presentation, we can just do 6 questions. So like if people are following along, then at the end they can score themselves to see where they fall. I
Oh,
don't know if that's a good or a bad idea, but
Is it a physical? Like,
no, it's online and like
yeah.
I bought my book so long ago, I don't have the code, I don't think.
well, I found
Well-
one. I don't know if it goes exactly with the book. Let me see. Um, says the languages of appreciation quiz, and it's just 30 questions. I'll send it to that email that Amy sent out. If I can figure out how to save it. And then maybe like whoever just 1 through 6 for the first person, 7 through 12 for the next, and
So you'd ask them to do the first 6 of the quiz and then come back to it?
well, so say like each of us like
What kind of
we'll probably
answers do they have, Colleen? Is it a scoring?
Yeah, yeah, it's like A, B, C, D.
Okay.
Hmm,
My
but there's no E.
What I don't understand is like how at the end, right? Like, I guess they,
Um,
because if they're doing this quiz online, and I think if you give them the quiz ahead of time, people aren't going to pay attention. They're going to be working on their quiz.
well, like if we like each of us will probably have at least 6 slides, for our portion. So like in between each slide, be like, okay, choose your letter, and keep track of it. So they just write down B, A, like whatever their letter is, and then at the end, like our last slide, like could be just the scoring of it.
What is
Like,
what
That's
does
why
it say?
I asked how you
Yeah,
score it
send it to
because
me,
online,
Colleen. Send it to
okay. I don't know how to save it. I got a Mac and I didn't even open it out of the box for like a year, and I recently did, and I don't know how to do like anything on it. I just
Well, you should be able to like just copy and paste it and put it in Pages and send me a
oh,
page. Pages is like the Word document. And I have a Mac, so I can read it.
I have Word. Can I send it in Word?
Yeah, you can send it in Word too.
Okay. I don't have Pages.
You do because you have a Mac.
Oh, okay.
That's what that little orange thing with a pencil is at the bottom of your computer.
Hmm.
or maybe the engagement for acts of service. I mean, you could, I mean, simply ask people, what's an act of service you've done for a client? Put it in the chat.
Yeah. And that way share the information broadly. So maybe things people aren't thinking of, they can then be like, oh, that would be easy enough for me to do.
I like the whole thing that Cynthia was doing with the Chatterfall thing. Like she didn't really do it, but you have everybody type in what they're gonna type, and then at one time they hit send or return. So then
Oh.
it'll pop up at one time instead of as they think of them. Say, all right, I'm gonna give you 20 seconds to think about what would be an active service you can do for your client that appreciates somebody doing something for them or all right, ready to move to quality time?
Sure.
And if you guys just do your PowerPoint with like basic white stuff or whatever, just the basics, then we'll marry them all up.
Yeah, so I start on PowerPoint, and at the moment, it's kind of just an overview of what quality time is. I feel like this one will be tough to present to other counselors because they're going to say, well, of course I do quality time right now. So what I want to focus on was kind of more specific examples and techniques. What is active listening? I think we all know the definition of it, but giving examples and actual like questions you can ask to demonstrate that. The activity part I found kind of tough to come up with. An idea I kind of had was a bit of a what if scenario. And this is like from real life. I've worked for a nonprofit before where you got an hour total with a client and one meeting. And so it was, the idea of quality time is connection, and it's not the quantity, it's the quality of it. And so, how do you go into this meeting? You have 1 hour top to work with someone, and you want them to leave feeling like they've been heard and understood. And I was worried this would be a little too much like our triads, where it is kind of a lot of brainstorming. But that was about the only activity I could come up with at the moment. I'd love to hear suggestions from the group.
I love that way more than the path that I was researching because when I looked into quality time, it talked about how for some clients you should offer to provide them with more time. And I know that not everybody is game for that, right? And it's the complete opposite of what you were saying. So I really like the whole how do you apply active listening and how do you demonstrate that you have heard and that you understand what they may be struggling with and in a limited amount of time.
And I think about how somebody who appreciates quality time and they're talking and you're thinking about their solution and you immediately come up with an answer for something, how that would turn them off because you didn't really take in what they had to say. They could tell you were thinking about what you were going to say next. Like that's an example of what not to do.
Yeah,
And
don't jump to solution space right away.
that could deter your client from having that connection that they really want.
Yeah, I feel like the last book that we read kind of really went into that because I don't know, me and Amy were working on presentations or triads one time, and she said you always jump to solutions. And after reading the book, like how important it is to know your client, like that might actually
Let
be
them
more
know
important
what you heard, right?
yeah. So that they're comfortable with you and you build that relationship. And then, like, yeah, I feel like I've gained like insight from
I
that last
even
book.
I even like to say, this is what I heard from what you just said. Now, is there anything that has come up for you that you thought might be a solution? And let them do a first solution before you give your own.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
I think I also learned from doing this, like asking for permission. I think do Andy's and then say, are you open to suggestions? Or,
Yeah. Are you okay with me sharing a couple ideas that I have? Well, like
yeah,
just when I talk about brainstorming, I always, always, always suggest that if you can get the client to come up with 10 things first, even if they're crazy, even if it's like, I'm going to go buy a lottery ticket today and it's going to be a winner, it doesn't matter. Be as crazy a solution as you want it to be. If you come up with 10, then I'm going to give you a couple suggestions, if it's okay with you, of things that other people have done that I've worked with or things that have worked for me.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I think also if you do give a solution, just following up with how do you see this playing out in your life? Also really helpful because we're coming up with things in like a sterile situation, and then clients are like, well, but actually I could see my spouse saying X, Y, and Z. Um, okay, well, I will start building out those examples because I started off with just definitions and I was like, this doesn't help anyone.
All right. You ready? Words of affirmation?
Um,
Go to YouTube and watch some stuff about using a Mac.
yeah.
That's your assignment this weekend in Hawaii. I don't care how nice it is. Which my son just came up here to tell me that the pool was 86 degrees and we
Ooh,
need
nice.
to move that water around so it's all the same temperature. So funny.
What's the temperature outside? Is it warm enough to swim?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Cool temperature supposed to be? 86 sounds delightful, but then I'm like, oh, maybe
It's
that's too
86
cold.
out.
Oh,
86 is pretty delightful. I like my pool 85 or higher. I'm a wuss.
well, I like it warm. That's
I like 85 to 90. That's my favorite temperature to swim in, but
okay.
I might have to get
Sorry.
myself a wetsuit. Okay.
I had to learn about
Affirmation.
pool stuff. Okay, words of affirmation.
All right, Colleen.
Um, I don't know what the presentation will look like. I was trying to see like how everybody else was doing and kind of like follow suit, so it's not like
Well,
some
I can
outrageous
put that all together and make it all look like it's uniform. So don't worry about that.
thing.
I
And
used
just I don't
like what I used to do when I had a training team that would go, oh, we'll make your PowerPoint for you, depending on how busy they were, right? I would go, oh, I'll make a white slide with black letters. This is the words I want on there. And then I might put, I'd like a picture of whatever on it.
okay.
But I would put all my notes in the note section. This is what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. And that way they would know what kind of picture to put if they put a picture. I might not even use pictures. I don't know. I might, because there might be some examples out there that go with them. Words of affirmation is my favorite. I feel like I'm really good at doing this.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like honestly it's probably the easiest in a professional like situation because you can speak and I don't know, just the fact that it's like you should speak positively, you should or like try to understand if the client likes to be like private communication or if they like to be called out in front of people. Like some people, I don't like that, but some people like that. Or but like making sure that you're not doing it too often because they might just think that you're lying to them. Or um I don't know if it's the same as like actually verbally speaking it or like writing a card like thank you for coming in. And then also like during kind of focusing on positive like character qualities about them to like reinforce like you are good at this or you have done a good job, like I don't know.
And I think with this being the first one, like an activity and engagement will be easier for people to participate because they'll be able to think of things, right? Like if you're asking them, what kind of things might you do? Right. So like my team, the people I supervised, I would write a handwritten note to them and mail it and tell them what a great job they did. When we had employee evaluations, I would have like 2 or 3 things that I wanted them to go into our core competencies at work and tell me how they were doing things. And so I would let them know, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally see that you do this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
For clients, I could see sending them a text message. I really love, after the appointment, I really loved how you did this, this, and this since your last appointment. And I think we got a lot accomplished today, right?
Yeah.
There's so many different ways you can approach words of affirmation.
Yeah, I
Something
feel
my
like it keeps them motivated too. Like they know that they're accomplishing things and that you're like happy with their performance or encouraging them or supporting them or something. So,
something my business coach did. I get it. She's trying to boost her business coaching business, but she had posted on her Facebook page, one of my coaching clients, landed her first client. And as I'm reading, I'm like, hey, I think that's me. And then she mentioned some other thing. So that's like a public, but she didn't use my name, right? But I like that kind of stuff. But, you know, and it was fine for her to say that to me. I mean, she probably should have asked my permission, but it's fine. Maybe she knows me well enough by now. But, I think that could be like a more public words of affirmations type thing.
And one of the first things that our, well, he's vice president now of the company, did was he asked us how we preferred to receive our kudos, right? So I was like, I don't want anybody, like, I don't need a parade. I don't need whatever. Just tell me I did a good job. Give me some money. Most people give me some money, tell me I did a good job. That makes me happy. But then, like when I became president of AFCPE, they announced it to everybody. Hey, Andy's been elected, at a big meeting with like every employee there, stuff like that. And so, I mean, that's kind of cool, but
Think of like in
like, oh,
financial
where's
coaching, how you would do it, because maybe people aren't talking about they're going to a financial coach, right? And, you know, like for more
Well,
outwardly public type, I think it's, gonna have to be
hey,
direct.
on my social media, can I post that, you know, you did such and such,
On
so proud, or that you achieved a goal? Like I can just make it simple.
well, even if you have like a face-to-face meeting and you're with your spouse, like, I don't know, maybe you're uncomfortable about that, or like a group setting, group class, group meeting. Maybe you don't want to be called out in front of like the other 10 participants. I don't know. But yeah, the social media, like remembering to ask, like that's, I wouldn't,
Did
I
you have an
probably.
engagement or activity in mind?
No, like I was thinking about like possibly doing the quiz like throughout as a whole, but for just words of affirmation, no, I don't.
maybe could you have the ability, Andy, to do like a poll? Because you could say like, do you like words of affirmation? Do you like do you like it public or private?
What if we, what if for the activities, we did like case studies? Like you have a couple, for example, that you're counseling, and one person's love language is quality time, and the other person's love language is acts of service. And here's like the point of contention for them. One person doesn't feel involved in the finances and they want to be. That's the person who has quality time. The other person is acts of service. They think they're doing them a service by, you know what I mean? And so
By doing
maybe we
all the
could like,
work so that they don't
yeah,
have
they're
to
doing
worry
all the
about
work.
it.
It's causing issues. Hey, counselors, how would you handle this situation? What are like three
Oh,
things?
scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how are three ways that you can make both individuals seen in this instance based on their differing love languages? What if we
Hard.
just did that for all the activities?
That would be good. And that could work as long as you guys can think of.
Yeah. I've already got two scenarios as part of my presentation, so I know I can think of a couple more.
Yeah, because you're working on the whole thing too.
Uh-huh. I did want to throw out here though, Colleen, just for what it's worth, if you're a coach and you have a client who is maybe they just are not making the progress that they had wished for or you had wished for or whatever, and this person's love language is words of affirmation. I think that's why it's really important as coaches to understand a lot of the backstory of our clients so that we can pull in threads of what they have done right to continue encouraging them, because we can always rely on parallel stories that maybe have nothing to do with money but where they were able to take charge of a situation and to reinstill like confidence in them. And so I think that works really well with this particular love language. But you've got to know the thing, or you've got to know what questions
Yeah.
to ask. So it's mainly about money. Like they're struggling with this thing about money, but you could start asking questions about, well, tell me about a time in your life where you did take charge of a situation or you were really proud of yourself or whatever, and then leverage that and say, okay, I'm really proud of you, and I know you can do that again, and let's go ahead and prove ourselves right. Something like that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right.
I'm a
So
I'm a sucker for a word of affirmation.
We do these
So
like
for
big.
me, so for me, people showing up in class, that's my quality time thing. You can tell me
You're
all,
seeing
you can,
us getting value, right?
yeah, you can tell me all day long that you love the program, but if you don't show up for class, then you don't love the program, right? Like,
Yeah.
real example. So it's like very torturous for me to ask for those videos and those testimonials because it's not my thing.
Do
All
you
right.
qualify like asking for the video? I mean, I feel like it's sort of like a words of affirmation and a act of service to
It
help you.
is. It's both of those.
And
Those are both
yeah.
things that I'm like,
Oh, like
I
I
do
always try to
I
write
do
nice
things
things
for
on
people all the
LinkedIn.
time. Like I'm an active service person. I'm a words of affirmation person. Like that's what I give, but it's
No.
not what I like to get.
Well, what do you
My
like to get,
husband
Andy?
liked the physical touch, like that was his thing. So
That's
I'm
every man.
I know, right? Like we had an agreement. He got 30 minutes of massage every night, whether it
Oh,
was
you're
or a
so
back.
30 minutes.
Yeah, so for 10
Andy,
years, I have not had to massage anybody.
Andy, can I come and marry you?
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute.
You're probably way easier to be married to than him. Um, okay,
What
let's
is yours, Andy? I
Prince.
want to know now.
What's
What do you
that?
like to receive? What's your
Oh, quality time.
college? Oh, you did say that. Okay.
Yeah, quality time. And like, and I ask like my kids and grandkids, and I was like, if my kids, if they buy me something expensive, like my daughter buys me expensive shit like this, and my Lily stuff, um, it bothers me. It bothered me when my husband spent $3,000 on a necklace or whatever. Like it bothered me. And so I'm like, make something for me or do something for me or do something with me, right? Like I'd rather have that. So I'd say acts of service are probably second. No, I know they're second. Quality time is number one though.
That's funny because mine is actually like, I don't know, mine's like a toss up between like words of affirmation and physical touch. And the other day, me and my husband had a conversation. I was like, will you give me like a massage? And he was like, what? What do I get out of that? He's quality time. I was like, you get quality time with me.
Pauline lied.
We had a virtual office pretty much my whole career that was outside of my own house. And we would get on the phone and just work together with other supervisors and stuff. So you'd just be like on FaceTime or on the phone and you'd be doing work and talking to each other and stuff like that so that you could still build that connection with your coworkers when you were virtual. That was really helpful for our team, I think.
Yeah.
I like
We should
that. I
probably
miss
do
that.
tangible gifts. We have 10 minutes.
Yeah, let's talk about Brent's. So when he watches it,
Well,
we'll
actually,
gets
just have
value.
your
I'm
own
here in the
ideas
background
already.
now.
Oh,
He's
you're
here.
back. Yay, Brent.
Yay. Yeah, thank
He's
you.
been listening.
Yes, intently and driving. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I was thinking for mine, the engagement that I'll start off with, and I welcome any feedback from you guys on this, is I was going to say something like, okay, think of the sort of the most cherished or most memorable gift you've been given to someone in a professional situation. So not family or friends. And then give them a minute to think, or not a minute, but give them a few seconds to think about that. And then say, now think of the most expensive gift you've been given in a professional situation. Give them a few minutes. And then, sort of like by show of hands, for how many of you all was that the same gift? Because I'm going to start off with, you know, the idea of tangible gifts does not mean big gifts, which you guys have already been talking about that. And Andy, you just made a great point that in some situations that backfires because you feel like you got to reciprocate in some way, and that's not the idea. But that's kind of the way that I wanted to lead into it, and then start to talk about, from there, gifts don't have to be big, and this is where your active listening is going to come back in because the best gifts, if you think for the most of you who thought about the most thoughtful gift or your most cherished gift, it's probably because it was super personalized to you because the person who gave it to you really listened and it was about something maybe you said meant a lot to you and they got you a gift related to it or whatnot. And
I have
so,
an example about that, Brent.
yeah, go ahead.
So one of my bosses paid attention that I use the notes on my phone, right?
Mhm.
I don't use paper to everybody else on the team sitting there writing on paper when we have team meetings. And so he gave really nice pens to everybody. And he turns to me and he goes, yours has a stylus on it. I picked it out special for you.
Aha.
So you can use it with your notes,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly. Um, and then, something that we talked about previously when we were brainstorming this too, is I think, you know, milestone gifts, like, I don't know, whatever seems right in your situation, but like, hey, we said that we were going to make a spending plan, or we said we were going to do this, or we've been working together now for a year, or whatever, and just little things to highlight that. And again, these can be small and not to sort of make it all about yourself, but they can be branded too. And what branding often tends to do is to make you feel like you guys are on the same team together. Because, if you use a pen that says, the coaching services name on it,
Yeah. I'm
you're
a debt
endorsing it essentially.
destroyer coffee mug that
Yeah,
has your business name on it, right?
yeah. That's a perfect one.
I crushed my financial goals this year.
Yeah, and like something with a saying like that would be awesome. I'm going to use that actually. Thank you for that idea. I'll use something like that. But that's going to be my approach is first to engage them on the point that a good gift is not necessarily an expensive gift,
Yeah.
but then a good gift is a gift that's very personalized, and give some of those examples, and then kind of weave in some stories there. I mean,
Although I
obviously,
would
15
take that
minutes is a lot.
$8,000 bonus multiple times. I would take, but the pen I remember like a lot. Like that's
Yeah,
the example I use.
And
yeah.
when I left my corporate job, my financial advisors got me this like little cup thing, and on the inside, they knew I was becoming a coach. It says, "Do more of what makes your soul happy," like on the inside. And
Mhm.
it's like just a cute little thing, It meant a lot to me, that they were
This is my Women
coaching.
Working in Wealth Award. That means a lot to me that somebody submitted me for that, even though I had to get up on a stage and get presented to it. But
Oh boy.
Is that kind of like the same thing as, I don't know, like you going into office and they have like a bowl of candy there? Like, is that kind of like a gift thing or no? Like you get to like you show up, you get a
Yeah,
piece of candy.
like when you go to DoubleTree and they give you two warm cookies.
yeah. I that's very much a gift for me. I think the other part I was thinking about is with a lot of these conversations now going virtual, like the ability to give a physical gift in the moment is now somewhat limited in some scenarios. And I with an organization outside of financial planning that they they got around this. They sent me an email that said, we value you being a member, and then click here. And when you did, you could choose from like three or four gifts, and so very similar to what you guys are saying, you could have some tangible gifts, that yeah,
Milestone gifts.
Our
Yeah.
our work
yeah,
our work did that. They did the $50 gift card for summer fun. It was our summer fun gift card. And then, they would announce at the fall meeting, Target was the number one thing that everybody
ah,
picked, or you know what I mean? Like I'm like, mine's always like Outback. But
Andy
yeah,
wants a good meal.
yeah.
yeah. And maybe one of the gifts too, I was thinking I'll have to look this up to see if this is possible, but like would be instead of you getting something physical, you could make a donation to financial education for underserved youth or something. Like find an organization that you could vet
Donate on
out.
their behalf.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah,
You
if
know
you
what?
want this cup, here you go. But if not, here's $20 or whatever to this organization.
Well, I already said something like I wasn't thinking about it in this way, but like when we finish book study and Andy sends out that certificate, I mean, that's a tangible thing. I mean, I know it's
Absolutely.
digital, but I love that. And
You
it
could print
does,
it if you want to.
I could, and I'm thinking about putting it on the wall in my office,
Could see how
all
many
my
times you go to
awards.
book study. I have some people who've been
Absolutely.
like 8 times or more, so they'd have a lot of those.
But yeah, I mean, that's something you could do that really doesn't cost anything.
Right.
And even though it's digital, it feels tangible to me,
Definitely.
for especially if they're meeting a milestone that they've been working on.
All right. Now, who else is is anybody else doing the train the trainer on that day by themselves?
No.
Lisa's is recorded. I have to go. Oh, I guess I can look up, can't I?
I was hoping we could revisit timeframes on this. That wasn't
Definitely.
fresh in my mind. When our like legs of information are due to you.
Mm-hmm. So Cynthia and Maddie. And 11:30 is our earliest time. Colleen, that's too early for you. Do you want us to be like the last presentation?